Hello, Wellness Warriors. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what to do consistently to lose weight and to stay healthy by doing one simple action. And I think you're going to agree with me when I say that we felt our healthiest when we were children. We had energy to play all day. We just healed so much better than we do as adults, sometimes taking weeks and months to heal from things. As I think about it, actually, it's kind of scary. We had great hair and skin. Our weight was typically perfectly on the chart. I would say for the most part, little children are so healthy because we take care of them, right? We make sure that we feed them properly and make sure that they are meeting their milestones. So we're teaching them. I want to make sure that they can walk and run and play and talk and do all the things that kids are supposed to be able to do. When they get their doctor's appointments, we want to see that they've hit those milestones. I remember when my daughter was born and we went to our first doctor's appointment. She was significantly underweight and I went into a panic. I was timing how long she was breastfeeding for. And then I was supplementing even on top of that. And all I could see was that I was going to get her back to a healthy weight. Although I wasn't concerned about screen time for my daughter, I made sure that she had plenty of time outside. She wasn't allowed to have junk food until the age of 4. And she began doing gymnastics when she was still in daycare. I wanted her to be strong and I wanted her to be well socialized. And she was. I did a good job, I think, in getting her to the stages that I wanted to get her to. And while parents have the ability to control everything that their kids do, the kids benefit the most. I benefited the most when my parents were controlling all the stuff that I was doing. But then you have those teenage years that hit. And then your parents don't have the same level of control. So my daughter's a teenager now, and I don't have that ability to just tell her what to do. But what I did do is I started to teach her some of those life skills. Like I started teaching her that when she was much younger. Like now she knows how to cook some stuff for herself. She knows how to, I'm teaching her how to manage her money a little bit. And what's interesting though is now that she knows how to make pasta and cook hot dogs and make eggs, next thing you know, that when it's supper time, she's already eaten. And therefore doesn't sit down with us sometimes. By the time that they're going to be entering higher education, we're encouraging them to get jobs. We're encouraging them to study hard. Of course, they're going to spend time with their girlfriends or boyfriends. And obviously, they're going to have less and less time at home for supper because they're off at school, working, or with their respective spouses. When they're actually off on their own. So when I was off on my own and I was working hard, working late, exhausted by the time I got home, I remember often throwing a frozen pizza in the oven just because I didn't have the time to cook and I didn't have the energy to cook. I realized it was not healthy, but healthy wasn't even on the radar for me at the time. I wasn't thinking healthy. I wasn't even thinking about having fun, as a matter of fact. All I was focused on was that I needed to pay my bills and keep everything afloat. And that meant my health was suffering. There have been many times in my life when I've decided to focus on improving my health. And usually it's by getting more exercise and eating better. But then we go back to this problem that since I hate to cook, so one of my go-to solutions was my mom. She had no problem cooking for me. Yay moms. So if I was willing to pop by for supper several times a week, I could get a meal that was much more healthier than the frozen meal that I would grab from the freezer and throw in the oven. Even though these meals were frozen, single serving, portioned out, controlled meals that I was buying to try to stay reasonable in what I was eating, it wasn't enough to really solve my health problem. problems because my mom's food was there, but I was still eating these other foods that were totally processed garbage. And for me, my joints were getting more and more inflamed, and my weight was starting to rise eventually by the end of all of this chaos with the food that I was eating. The fact is, the real solution that was actually going to work, so what you guys have been waiting to find out, like, what's that solution? It was cooking for myself. And here's the thing. I didn't start cooking for myself until I really understood that the quality of the food that I was eating actually mattered. Knowing that the carb count had such an important role to play in how healthy I was feeling, or actually I wasn't feeling, that all of that joint pain was being caused because I was eating too much sugar. That's what turned me around. And that's what made me start to think about the fact that I need to cook for myself. Right? Because by getting my pain under control, I'd have a happier, healthier life. Now, it also ended up regulating my weight, because when I was healthier, my body was able to regulate my weight. Cooking is the solution. Now, I started this process because I was in pain, and I really wanted to end the pain. So I wasn't focused on what I would get to eat as much as I was focused on finding out what foods were contributing to my pain and then getting rid of them. But for many people, you're coming to keto because you want to lose weight. I keep hearing keto described as a great weight loss diet, a great quick fix diet, a great diet in the sense of something you do short term to accomplish a goal. And because your concern is losing weight, what you end up eating matters much more, and how you make it matters. And so now we're back to this idea, or we're finding this idea that we want recipes. We want to find ways to cook things, because obviously if I hate the food on the diet that I'm doing to lose weight, I'm not going to stick to it. And this is the reality for most people who've ever started a diet trying to lose weight and quit before they accomplish their goal. We cut off all of the fun foods we love to eat and eat low-fat, tasteless foods and suffer all the way to maybe my goal, maybe quit before I get to my goal. But the problem is that even if I reach that healthy weight, I'm not going to stay eating this tasteless garbage. And so I end up regaining the weight. It just doesn't, the whole idea of dieting doesn't sound interesting at all. I'm asking you to think about the fact that we're not just, okay, we don't end up looking for just any recipes, because this idea of dieting is so repulsive to us. We want to find fun recipes. We want recipes that are healthy versions of the garbage foods that we were eating before. And it doesn't work. And it's so weird to me, because cooking is the answer. Eating less than 20 grams of carbs is the answer. These are such simple ideas, and yet they're so hard to implement, because we want to eat what everyone else is eating and still be healthy and still be thin. And I started my keto journey making keto breads and making keto desserts. And I wanted to be able to, like, if I had keto bread, I could make a hamburger and have a hamburger with the family. If I had a keto cake, I could celebrate my birthday when everybody else was celebrating, or celebrate someone else's birthday by eating my own keto version cake. And the problem was that if I couldn't do that, I felt like there was something wrong with me. So, like, this idea that I have to do what you're doing or something's wrong with me. But in fact, there's nothing wrong with me. What I didn't realize was that no one was actually doing it. Metabolic syndrome goes undiagnosed for years because the symptoms are mostly unnoticeable until they can't be ignored. So you don't notice the symptom until you feel sick because of the symptom. So with the exception of abdominal obesity, so that distended stomach that we have, all the other symptoms like a BMI over 25, well, I actually have to sit down and calculate that number to know if I have a BMI of 25, which, can I tell you? I mean, I don't do that. Triglycerides that are high, I need a doctor to tell me if my triglycerides are high. I need to get a blood test. Low HDL cholesterol, again, I need a blood test to figure that out. High blood pressure, I would need my doctor to take my blood pressure because most of us don't have a blood pressure machine at home unless you happen to sit at the one in the pharmacy. But most people don't do that because you don't even think that you could possibly have high blood pressure. High fasting blood glucose, again, something that needs to be tested and measured. Increased blood clotting, you're not going to know that unless you have a blood clot. Insulin resistance, can I say that most people who go to the doctor and have blood tests taken who are actually overweight by a significant amount are still not told that they have insulin resistance, when being overweight is the easiest sign to know that you have insulin resistance? Basically, these signs of metabolic syndrome and metabolic problems, you're not going to know you have them. So you're not going to know to look for them. And so they're kind of not talked about until your doctor brings it up because some blood test showed them that there was an issue. I'm asking you to look at cooking as the way that you're going to help yourself be healthy and get to your healthy weight. Now, luckily for me, for my laziness, it kicked in and I was able to see something really amazing about cooking. Because when I accepted that eating for my health was more important than eating like everybody else, I was able to see the fact that in my history, for the majority of the time, I actually ate 3 side dishes. I had pasta, rice, or fries. Now, when I was a little kid, it wasn't always fries, it was other vegetables. But of course, when you become an adult or a teenager, an adult, and you can do whatever the heck you want, vegetables got replaced by fries. Now, some people will call that a vegetable. Other people don't. I don't call that a vegetable. The point is, when I noticed that that's what was happening, I had 3 side dishes. Well, the solution became crystal clear. As long as I had 3 healthy side dishes that could go beside whatever type of meat or fish or egg, so whatever protein source I chose to eat, that was my solution. I only needed 3 things because most of the time I had one of those 3 things. Now, what's hilarious is that, in fact, there are more than 3 types of healthy vegetables and or salads that I can have. And if I combine the vegetables and the salad, so if I have both on any, then I even have more variation to my meal. My meal can be as complex or as simple as I'd like it to be. Now, of course, I opt for simple, which helps me to cook every single day, because we know that everything I can do to get myself cooking every day is better for me. But my question to you is, are you still trying to eat like everyone else? Or have you settled into cooking healthy, delicious foods that build the strongest version of you? If you're still stuck in those old habits, maybe you feel like it's harder because you have a sweet tooth, I think you're going to find the video that I'm going to link here very helpful for you. It's also in the description below.